Ford just did something almost nobody in the auto industry expected. While every legacy automaker quietly walks back its EV promises, Ford leaned in on price everywhere else in its lineup, and the numbers it just posted are forcing competitors into a full-blown panic. Here's the number that explains why. In the second quarter of 2026, Ford declared a $1.3 billion net loss tied to one-time special charges from changes to its electric vehicle plans. And in that same earnings call, Ford actually raised its full-year financial guidance, now forecasting annual operating income between $10 billion and $11 billion. That's up from the $8.5 to $10.5 billion range projected earlier in the year, and a huge jump above the $6.8 billion Ford actually earned in 2025. A company just wrote down $1 billion on its EV bet and told Wall Street its best year in recent memory was still coming. That contradiction is the whole story. To understand how Ford got here, rewind to August of last year. Ford CEO Jim Farley stood in front of cameras and called it a Model T moment. Ford unveiled its universal EV platform, promising a family of affordable electric vehicles, starting with a four-door mid-size pickup priced at just $30,000. Farley claimed Ford had a skunkworks team, led by a former Tesla engineer secretly developing the platform in the Bay Area for more than a decade. The pitch was simple. Tear up the traditional assembly line, radically simplify how the car goes together, and finally build an EV that undercuts gas trucks on price instead of costing more than them. The investment behind it wasn't small either. Ford committed roughly $5 billion combined across its Louisville assembly plant and Blue Oval Battery Park, Michigan, creating nearly 4,000 direct jobs and building a new U.S. supplier base for LFP battery cells. The platform itself relies on large aluminum castings, zonal electrical architecture, and a simplified build process specifically designed to cut parts count, weight, and cost. On paper, it looked like Ford's answer to the exact problem killing every other legacy EV program. Nobody could make an affordable one that didn't lose money.
Then reality hit anyway. Ford's broader EV division kept bleeding cash, and by December 2025, the company made its own quiet retreat. Ford shifted away from pure EVs, pivoting toward extended-range hybrids, smaller low-cost EVs, and new combustion truck models through 2030, while pushing its Model E division's profitability target out to 2029. On top of that, Ford delayed its next-generation electric full-size pickup and electric van to 2028, the latest in a string of postponements for vehicles originally slated for 2026. Around Ford, the wider industry was making the same call. Jeep's CEO admitted the entire EV industry was going to slide before anyone even knew what the new normal would look like, and Stellantis started deprioritizing EVs across its lineup, even for Jeep. On paper, this looked exactly like every other legacy automaker's EV story. Big promise, big write-down, quiet walkback. This is where Ford splits from the pack. Instead of retreating into caution across the board, Ford went aggressive on price on everything else it sells. With average new vehicle prices now topping $50,000 nationwide, Ford brought back its employee pricing for all program in May 2026, letting every buyer pay what a Ford employee pays across most of its 2025 and 2026 lineup. Farley confirmed the extension personally, tying the campaign to the country's 250th anniversary and calling it a way to show how much the company values its customers. Many people inside the industry read it less as a goodwill gesture and more as a calculated land grab for market share at the direct expense of margin. And it worked before it even relaunched. The first version of this program had already added nearly 2 full points of market share, pushing Ford's U.S. share to 14.7% by the end of May, up 1.9 percentage points year over year. Even as total industry light vehicle volume dropped 8.7% in the first quarter of 2026, Ford's own retail share still inched up. That's the kind of number that gets noticed in board meetings in Detroit, Auburn Hills, and Tokyo.
So rivals started copying it. Stellantis launched a nearly identical employee pricing program of its own within days of Ford's original move, while GM initially declined to follow. By 2026, Stellantis rolled out an even broader version, extending employee-style pricing to almost anyone who wanted a car, with only a handful of specialty trims excluded. Ford's own stock ticked up on the news, treated as validation rather than a threat, since a rival copying your playbook usually means you called the market correctly. Not everyone can afford to play, though. Ford's move was backed by real financial room. $43.25 billion in first quarter revenue, $2.5 billion in net income, and a partial boost from a $1.3 billion tariff refund, giving Ford enough cushion to run this as a genuine strategy rather than a purely defensive move. Analysts were blunt about the risk sitting underneath all of it, though. If GM or Stellantis keep matching every incentive, the market could turn into a pricing war where nobody actually gains ground, and margins get squeezed for everyone at once. Meanwhile, Ford quietly fixed one of its longest-running weaknesses in the background, giving it more room to spend on pricing without the company falling apart internally. Ford cut warranty and material costs by $1.5 billion in 2025, adjusted for volume and mix, after those costs had peaked at a punishing $4.8 billion back in 2023. A Barclays analyst tracking 4 straight quarters of year-over-year warranty improvement said Ford finally appeared to have, quote, turned the corner. A company that used to bleed cash fixing its own mistakes was suddenly generating enough headroom to fund a nationwide price war instead. Here's why this should matter to you even if you have zero interest in ever owning a Ford. GM, Toyota, and Ford together already control roughly 45% of the entire U.S. new car market. When the second largest player in that group decides the winning move isn't a better EV, it's simply refusing to let its own dealer markup exist anymore. That pressure doesn't stay contained to one brand.
It ripples outward into every dealership lot in the country. Every other automaker is now stuck answering the same question Ford just forced into the open. Do you match the discount and protect your market share? Or do you hold your price and watch buyers walk across the street to the brand that didn't? The deeper lesson hidden behind this announcement goes far beyond the launch of a new electric vehicle platform or the excitement of a bold corporate press release. While headlines may celebrate a breakthrough EV architecture or compare it to a Model T moment, those announcements alone do not convince customers to buy vehicles. In the automotive industry, sales are ultimately driven by value, affordability, and the confidence that buyers are getting the best deal for their money. What truly moves vehicles off dealership lots is a simple comparison between price tags. When a Ford truck carrying an employee pricing offer sits beside a competing model that costs $2,000 or $3,000 more while offering similar features, the decision suddenly becomes much easier for many shoppers. This advantage becomes even more powerful at a time when the average price of a brand new vehicle has climbed beyond $50,000, forcing families and budget-conscious buyers to pay closer attention than ever to every dollar they spend. Ford appears to have recognized that the quickest way to disrupt the market is not necessarily by trying to out-engineer Tesla overnight, or by attempting to beat BYD on battery technology years into the future. Those are long-term battles that require enormous investments, technological breakthroughs, and time. Instead, Ford is focusing on something customers can see immediately, delivering stronger value today through aggressive pricing strategies that make rival vehicles appear significantly more expensive for similar performance and capability. This strategy creates pressure on competitors one model at a time, one dealership at a time, and one customer decision at a time. As buyers compare prices across the showroom floor, Ford's pricing becomes a powerful marketing tool in itself, forcing competing brands to justify higher costs or respond with discounts of their own. In many ways, this pricing battle could reshape purchasing decisions faster than any single technological innovation. At the same time, the company gains another important advantage. By strengthening sales of its current lineup and maintaining competitiveness in the traditional vehicle market, Ford gives its electric vehicle division valuable breathing room. Instead of rushing EV development simply to keep pace with rivals, the company can continue refining its technology, improving battery economics, expanding production, and building a stronger long-term foundation while its pricing strategy keeps customers walking into Ford dealerships today.
Whether this strategy continues to succeed once competitors stop absorbing the impact on their profit margins and begin matching Ford's prices dollar for dollar remains the biggest unanswered question. That is the challenge hanging over the entire strategy. While aggressive pricing can attract buyers in the short term, it becomes much harder to maintain a competitive advantage if every major automaker decides to respond with similar discounts and incentives. At that point, the battle shifts from winning customers with lower prices to protecting profitability while still delivering value. The automotive industry has seen price wars before, and history shows that they rarely produce long-term winners. If rivals such as General Motors, Toyota, Hyundai, or even Tesla decide to fight back with equally competitive pricing, Ford may find itself in a position where lower margins become the new normal. The company will then have to prove that its broader strategy, combining affordable pricing, strong hybrid offerings, and carefully paced electric vehicle development, can generate sustainable growth rather than temporary market share gains. Only time will reveal whether this bold approach becomes a defining turning point for Ford or simply a costly chapter in an increasingly competitive industry. One thing is certain, the next few years will be critical in determining whether Ford's gamble pays off or whether the competition quickly erases its pricing advantage. Now, it's your turn. Where do you stand on Ford's strategy? Do you believe its low-price, hybrid-first approach is the smartest move in today's automotive market? Or do you think these aggressive discounts could eventually hurt the company's profits once every competitor starts doing the same thing? Share your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and many of the best ideas for future videos on this channel come directly from your suggestions, insights, and discussions. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more automotive news and industry breakdowns, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update. If you're new here, MotorZen covers car culture from every corner of the world, the engineering, the history, and the business decisions that decide what actually ends up in your driveway. We don't pick sides between brands or countries, we just follow the story wherever it goes. Subscribe if that's your thing. New videos every other day, no filler. See you in the next one.